Good morning, and thank you for joining us at this Croes-y-Parc Chapel Easter Sunday drop-in. 2,000 years ago, at that first Easter weekend, when I think back and I think of the Good Friday, we had all the followers of Jesus who'd been with him for 3 years, listening to his teaching, watching him perform miracles, having a hope for the future that they were going to be released from the rule of the Romans. All of those hopes and dreams were dashed when they saw their leader, the one they loved, arrested, executed, and then buried. And then on Saturday was a day of deep mourning and a real loss of hope. The disciples were scared and had hidden themselves indoors behind locked doors. The women who hadn't been able to say goodbye properly to Jesus, his mother who'd been there at the cross, who hadn't been able to hold him, they were waiting too in grief and mourning to be able to go and visit his tomb the next day. So Saturday was a day of just waiting and wondering with hope lost. And as I thought about that, I thought it's a bit like the situation we're in now. It's almost like we're in a very long Saturday. We ourselves are behind closed doors and we're fearful of what is out there. Many will have lost people that they love dearly and haven't been able to say goodbye. And we too perhaps have lost hope and wonder what the future holds. But then Sunday comes and the women go to the tomb and they realise that Jesus isn't there. He has risen. It is Easter Sunday. And because he has risen, their hope is restored, that there will be a future. And that's the same for us. Our faith is in the fact that Jesus Christ is who he says he was, the Son of God, that he did what he did, that he rose from the dead and conquered death, and that he will return one day. He will come again and there'll be a new heaven and a new earth. And also, because he defeated death, it means we have a hope not just for now in this world, but also for eternity. So Easter Sunday is a day of hope restored. And that's something to celebrate even in the midst of chaos, confusion and pain. We can have hope for the future.
Jesus in the garden, newly risen from the dead, who stood by weeping Mary, and who heard the words she said as if you were the gardener, till at last your shepherd's voice called her Mary, and with one word gave her reason to rejoice. Jesus in the garden, ever new, but still the same, help me recognize you in the speaking of my name. Jesus on the journey, fellow traveller on the road, who met two sad disciples, walking with them as you showed the meaning of the scriptures that predicted you would rise, but only when you blessed the meal could they believe their eyes. Jesus on the journey, meet me where my hopes have fled, help me recognize you in the breaking of the bread. Jesus in the locked room, breaking through despair and doubt, who comforted your friends when they had shut the whole world out, who came again for Thomas and revealed your hands and side so that he could touch and know you as alive, though you had died. Jesus in the locked room, breaking through our self-built bars, help me recognize you in the touching of your scars. Jesus on the shoreline, cooking breakfast for your friends, who offered guilty Peter one more chance to make amends, who filled a net with fish for him, and helped him to recall the first catch that convinced him to respond to your first call. Jesus on the shoreline, know my best, forgive my worst, help me recognize you in the way I met you first.
Good morning, people. Easter, as any right-thinking person will tell you, is all about chocolate eggs. Contrary to what some might believe, it is never about chocolate bunnies. Such people are confused about the meaning of Easter, and their confusion is exploited by ruthless manufacturers of rabbit-shaped confectionery. I'm going to name and shame the main suppliers of these chocolate aberrations. It is a company called Lindt. Lindt, of course, also produce genuine chocolate eggs. That's just a cover, a thin veneer of respectability for their bunny operation. Without this legitimate side of the business, they would be reduced to furtively peddling their wares on street corners or in underground car parks. But having first established themselves as doctrinally sound orthodox eggmen, they are now free to brazenly hawk their lop-eared monstrosities from any retail outlet you care to mention. They prey on the gullible, the ill-informed, and those who simply don't care how they get their chocolate fix. There was actually a rock group which called itself the Chocolate Bunnies from Hell. I've got news for them. That's where they all come from. Chocolate bunnies are an offence against nature, even if they taste superficially similar to the real thing. But while there is any discernment left in this world, they will never prevail. As someone once said, we shall fight them on the beaches. We shall fight them on the hills. We will never surrender. Now, I hope you don't think that my position on this is too extreme. You might, I suppose, consider the shape of the chocolate to be a trivial matter, even inconsequential. You might even think that Easter isn't actually about confectionery at all. But could I really call myself a Christian if I didn't condemn others for doing things slightly differently to me? Sadly, this is often the unacceptable face of Christianity which people see. Nitpicking, pathetic squabbles over minor differences about insignificant issues. Jesus would turn in his grave if only he'd stayed there. And really, that is what Easter is about, the death and resurrection of Christ. That's what actually matters, not petty disputes about obscure theological points, or worse still, about church tradition. That's the equivalent of falling out over the shape of your Easter chocolate, or even falling out over how it is wrapped. I'm going to put my hand up. I've got a tradition of my own. On this day, when we celebrate the most significant event in human history, I always like to present some of the compelling evidence for the resurrection to our fellowship. And believe me, there is plenty to choose from. But outside the church, the real evidence of our risen Saviour that people need to see is not the historical accuracy of the gospel accounts, however irrefutable that might be. It is the proof of lives changed, love poured out, and transcendent unity. In one analogy, the Bible likens Christ to a vine, of which we are the branches. But that relationship will have little impact on others until the fruit it produces, or should produce, can be clearly perceived. Have a great Easter and stay safe.
Come and bow before Christ, the author of all things, every heart adore Christ, the everlasting God, reigning at the Father's side from eternity, wrapped in everlasting light, clothed in majesty, the beginning and the end. Christ has saved. suffered on the cross. Through his death he won our peace. Now no condemnation stands, we are truly free. We were crucified with Christ, we will surely be raised in everlasting life. Christ our Savior, King of glory and of grace, reign forever. You are worthy of our hearts and He will come again in power with authority. Sin and death will be destroyed in his victory. We will see him face to face. And then every tongue will cry and all, every bended knee will acknowledge he is Lord. Then our hearts will be lost in everlasting praise. Christ our Savior, King of glory and of grace, reign forever. You are worthy of our praise. Christ our Savior, King of glory and of grace, reign forever. You are worthy of our hearts unending praise. Christ our Savior, King of glory and of grace, reign forever. You are worthy of our hearts unending praise.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us this Easter Sunday, and we hope you're dropping again next week. If you have a prayer request, then please do message us here on Facebook. It will be our privilege to pray for you, for your family, any situations you're currently facing, and we promise we will do that for you.